everyone, I'm Ryan from Fireside Yankees, and there are plenty of news to cover regarding various options that either the Yankees or the players have used on their contracts. Now, the Yankees have announced over the last 24 hours that Luke Weaver and Anthony Rizzo's club options were already decided upon. Luke Weaver's contract, he had a option for the 2025 season, valued at $2.5 million. The Yankees obviously picked up that option. It is an extremely cheap deal for a guy who is your best relief pitcher, who is your closer down the stretch, who put up an incredible season. Anthony Rizzo had a $17 million club option, and expectedly his was declined after a rough 2024 season. And Gerrit Cole had a player option for the 2024 season, and he expectedly decided to opt out of his deal. But don't worry, the Yankees can void his opt-out by adding another year to the end of his deal. His player option is technically not even a player option because the Yankees have complete and total control over whether that player is going to hit the market or not by adding an extra year. Although, again, I understand if you're initially panicked seeing that the Yankees have a pitcher like Gerrit Cole opting out of their deal. This is simply so you can ensure the final year of his contract. I could virtually guarantee that they're going to tag on that option, but we'll talk about that and more in just a second. Before we get into everything, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and check out our various social media platforms on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and of course this YouTube page. We're at Fireside Yankees everywhere except for Instagram, where it's at fireside.yankees. And with that being said, let's get started talking about Gerrit Cole, because I know everyone's probably the most nervous, the most like, what the hell's going on here about those news. Kylie McDaniels of ESPN was the first to report that Gerrit Cole has decided to use his player option for the 2024 season. He is opting out of the current deal that he signed with the New York Yankees after the 2019 season, valued at 4 years and $144 million. The Yankees can void that opt-out by exercising a 2029 club option at $36 million, taking Gerrit Cole's 9-year, $324 million deal and making it into a 10-year, $360 million deal. This would then make Gerrit Cole the player who has had the largest contract ever handed out to a pitcher, if we're talking in unofficial terms here, because the Yankees would then have created an obligation to pay him for 6 years rather than 5 years. Again, that just means in technical terms that the Yankees are giving him an extra year because he opted out. And because he used the opt-out, the only way for the Yankees to ensure that it can be voided is to give him the extra year. Now, let's talk about whether the Yankees should give him that extra year or not. To me, this is a no-brainer. Gerrit Cole is one of the best starting pitchers in the league. If he were to hit the market, a 5-year deal valued at $36 million a year would make a good amount of sense for Gerrit Cole. You're basically paying him a 5-year deal at $36 million a year. That is, $180 million. That is probably what he would get in the free agent market. Many will point to his stuff declining from the 2022 and 2023 seasons, but I'd also argue that Gerrit Cole has not only become a more refined pitcher, but he's better at limiting damage contact than he had been when he first joined the Yankees. The addition of a cutter, and a sinker have helped aid his ability to suppress damage contact and keep batters honest. His changeup was a weapon that he developed more during the postseason and became a real, a pitch that he could actually throw for strikes and locate decently well. He is better at the art of pitching than he's been at any point of his career, while still grading out as a firmly above average pitcher in terms of Stuff Plus, posting a 111 Stuff Plus this season. It also is important to note that his total ERA and his total body of work are negatively affected by him first coming back from an elbow issue. His UCL was not damaged, it was completely intact, so risk of Tommy John surgery remains similar to any other pitcher who has a lot of mileage on their arm. It's mildly high because he does have a lot of damage on his arm, but if he needed UCL reconstruction surgery, we would have known this when he visited Dr. Neil Elitroch, over the month of March. We also know that Gerrit Cole, unlike most pitchers, is a workhorse. This is a guy who can pitch deep into games, who can log 6-7 innings a start, make 30 starts a year, and that's very valuable to the New York Yankees. He pitched well in the postseason. He put up 2.17 ERA. Even with his struggles to start the year, he had a 3.41 ERA in the season. This is a guy who I think you can project for 180, 190, 200 innings with a 3.2, 3.3 ERA, and that is extremely valuable in a sport where volume and value are typically not in the same pitcher. You're either getting a volume guy who can't really provide you a lot of value per start, or a guy who's providing you a lot of value per start and isn't providing you with a ton of volume. So Gerrit Cole, still a frontline pitcher, still one of the best in the game. He's still that guy. I have no problem giving him that extra year. Moving on to Luke Weaver, who the Yankees picked up his club option for the 2025 season. I don't feel like this makes anything, like this isn't like news. I could have recorded this segment of the video in July, right? Like I could have recorded this video in June. I mean, of course the Yankees are going to pick up his 2025 club option, valued at $2.5 million. That's a steal, right? That is an unbelievable steal of a deal. The gamble they took on a pitcher who had the worst ERA for any pitcher between 2021 and 2023, minimum 250 innings pitched. The guy with the worst ERA over that stretch, a near 6 ERA, turned into one of the best relievers in the game. The Yankees used him a lot in the postseason. He appeared in 12 games with 15 and a third innings pitched, posted 1.76 ERA with a 28.6% strikeout rate. This is following a regular season where he struck out 31.1% of batters faced with a 2.89 ERA across 84 innings. He nearly totaled 100 innings pitched in the regular and postseason combined. He struck out 100 batters in the regular season, struck out 103 to be exact. 103 is the highest total for any reliever since 2018 for a New York Yankee. I believe it was Dellin Betances who last reached the 100 strikeout plateau. This is a guy who's mastered the art of volume for a reliever. He can give you 2 inning saves. He can give you 1 inning saves. His changeup is a dominant pitch. His four-seamer is a dominant pitch. His cutter is really coming to its own. This is a guy who is just perfectly built to pitch in high leverage situations. He misses a ton of bats. He gets a lot of chases. He has stellar command of his arsenal. I wonder if the cutter becomes more of a weapon for him throughout the season. The Yankees talked about how his cutter shape has kind of been manipulated a little bit to play more like a slider. If the Yankees are able to have him have both a cutter and something of a slider, something he can throw up and away to righties or up and into lefties, and then down and away to righties based on the grip or the shape of the cutter, that would be really useful. And it's kind of weird because we're talking about a guy who broke out, who had a great year, and yet there are still things he can improve upon. There were still things he was improving upon. His fastball whiff rate spiked once he became the closer. He was throwing a little more intensity, got things rolling a little bit. It felt like his command of the fastball got better. He was much more aggressive, throwing it up in the zone and getting punchies with it. The changeup, his changeup's one of the best changeups in the game. His cutter, again, a great damage prevention pitch. This is a guy who I can really see stepping into the closer role to start the 2025 season, just like he did to end last year, and dominating in that role again. And if he struggles, it's $2.5 million. If he gets hurt, it's $2.5 million. This is a great, great contract. The Yankees did a great job with their scouting on Weaver, did a great job with the player development side. This is a massive success story. One of the best acquisitions that Brian Cashman has made as the GM of the New York Yankees, and this is a guy who will play a huge role in 2025 team, if of course he stays healthy, which is a disclaimer you can throw on any player across the game. Had a high workload this year. I wonder if the Yankees manage that in 2025. Maybe don't have him throw 84 innings if he's closing. We'll see. We'll also see what the Yankees do outside of their bullpen depth. Outside of bringing back Weaver in terms of bullpen depth. Clay Holmes is a free agent. Tommy Kahnle is a free agent. Tim Hill is a free agent. Those are 3 guys who were big parts of this bullpen down the stretch and in the postseason. Tim Hill, great find. They picked him up from Chicago during the season. He was awful with Chicago. Came in, did a job. Tommy Kahnle, didn't pitch the first 2 months of the year, got off to a slow start, and then became an excellent reliever. And then Clay Holmes, started out hot, really had a tough summer, then picked it up in the postseason. So, these are 3 critical arms who will find homes this winter and will, be a big part of whatever bullpen they join. But it'll be curious to see which bullpens they end up with. I think Hill could come back. I think Kahnle maybe comes back. Holmes I have a harder time seeing because of the financial commitment and because I think other teams will actually pay him to be their closer. But with that being said, let's move on to Anthony Rizzo's $17 million club option being declined. This is, again, an expected move. I was not shocked to see this. There was no reason to pick up his 2025 club option. If we're being frank, the production just wasn't there. He put up a negative 0.2 F4. He had the worst WRC plus at 84 of his entire Major League career outside of the 49 games he played his rookie year as a 21-year-old in San Diego. He didn't slug much this year. He had a 335 slugging percentage. He had a 107 isolated power. His chase rate was the highest of his career at 36.5%. While his strikeout rate came down from the 2023 season, it didn't really matter, right? Like, he wasn't hitting for power. The defense was fine. It wasn't like Gold Glove caliber. It wasn't the kind of defense that completely offsets a below-average bat. He was a negative WAR player. He has a lower sprint speed than Giancarlo Stanton, which isn't great. His athleticism has looked like it's declined. And to his credit, or I guess to be fair here, because to his credit's a little like it's not really the expression I'm looking for here. His injuries aren't his fault. He didn't choose to get concussed. It wasn't, something where it was, maybe he strained something or whatever. He got concussed. It's a freak accident, right? The finger fractures, those are freak accidents. The arm fracture, that's a freak accident. The problem is that I think the concussion was the most impactful one because he wasn't really hitting in 2024 when he had the arm fracture. It just kind of feels like his career's done. Like, if you ask me, I think that this is probably the point in time where he should consider retirement. But I also understand that teams are going to be willing to give him a minor league deal, a 1-year deal at $2, $3 million, $4 million. We saw Carlos Santana have a career revival last year. We'll talk about him in a little bit with the Minnesota Twins. He's not the worst baseball player on planet Earth, but I don't see a reason for the Yankees to bring him back. They're not a rebuilding team. They're not a team that, lacks veterans. They need good ball players. They're trying to win the World Series. So the first player that comes to mind is Christian Walker. He's probably the best first baseman on the market. I know people are going to say Pete Alonso, but I'll put my money on Christian Walker. He is entering his age 34 season. That's a concern. But he did hit the ball really well last year. He's a great defensive player. That is a gold glove caliber first baseman with right-handed power, can hit lefties. That's something the Yankees struggled with last year. I also think Carlos Santana, who I just mentioned, could be an option because he's cheap. He's probably going to cost about $5 million, a 1-year deal, hits lefties well. And you could maybe platoon him with Ben Rice if Santana just doesn't really hit for you after having a decent year last year with the Minnesota Twins. He's kind of been an ageless wonder. His bat has transitioned throughout multiple different organizations. He has decent power, great plate discipline, a great feel for the strike zone, and again, great defensive player. He's so good defensively, racked up a ton of defensive runs saved, and that's above average. If you guys have noticed, two guys who are veterans, and Walker and Santana, they're a little bit older. When you have a guy like Ben Rice, who, I thought he showed flashes of prominence in 2024, you do wonder if there's a lane for him, but I don't think that lane should be starting first baseman, uncontested. Nobody else in the organization can really contend with that position. I think it should be more of he's the first baseman of the New York Yankees if the current veteran option doesn't perform. And I think that veteran option shouldn't be Rizzo. I think it should be a Santana, a Walker. If they want to get creative in the trade market, Josh Naylor, Yandy Diaz, maybe Nathaniel Lowe with the Texas Rangers looking to dip below the luxury tax. So there are definitely lanes for the Yankees to get better at first base. But with that being said, I hope this covered all your concerns. Again, Gerrit Cole, the Yankees can void the opt-out. Rizzo, Weaver, club options. Weaver will be here next year. Rizzo, it's up in the air, but I'd say he's probably not coming back. We'll see how the Yankees navigate first base. We'll see if the Yankees end up voiding that Gerrit Cole option. I think they will. But with that being said, thank you guys again for tuning in. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys again. Again, we love you guys. Appreciate all the support this year. I know you guys are all reeling from Game 5. I'm still hurting. We're all still hurting. But thank you again. We'll see you guys in the next one. Let's go Yankees. Love you all. Peace out.
Perfect.